Continuing now with our lead story, analyzing President Trump's speech and opposition to him. Before the speech was even given, Congresswoman Nancy Pelosi said this.
The president has said about himself, he said nobody knew how complicated health care would be. He obviously didn't know that, but he also doesn't know what the budget is about.
Now that criticism again coming from Mrs. Pelosi, who famously said this about Obamacare in 2010.
We have to pass the bill so that you can find out what is in it.
I love that. Joining us now from Denver, the governor of Colorado, John Hickenlooper. So as a Democrat, how do you assess President Trump's speech last night?
Well, it was certainly a different tone than we've seen before, and I think a welcome tone in that sense that he really did seem to be including people. There wasn't the attacks on the media as being an enemy of the people. He really did seem like around job creation and even immigration, which he amplified today, but that it looked like he was reaching out to people that maybe he didn't agree with and encouraging them to kind of join him at the table and begin negotiating some of these issues. You know, I think if the president is going to honor the complexity of these issues and, you know, the core values that so many of us hold dear, I think we're ready to sit down and work on those issues.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, it's best for the country if you do. But it's interesting because it sounds like you thought he gave a pretty good speech last night. Would that be accurate?
Yeah, I think the tone, well, again, there wasn't a lot of detail.
Not specifics,
but the tone was,
right.
Yeah, the tone was very different than anything we've seen. And I think that's, you know, welcome. I mean, the level of volatility that we've seen up until now, I don't see how it's sustainable. So, and hopefully this will mark the beginning of a new consistency that we can really get down to work on these issues, right?
Now, you just heard the vice president who was adamant that there's not going to be really any pathway to citizenship for illegal aliens who are here and have not been causing trouble while they're here. However, there are going to be crackdowns on sanctuary cities, Denver being one of them, the capital of Colorado. Now, are you fearful that you'll lose some federal money, and how will you rebut that if it indeed does happen?
Oh, I don't think so. I think, you know, if somebody commits a crime in Denver and they don't have proper documentation, generally, and I know there have been some screw-ups on this, but generally that name goes immediately over to ICE.
So you don't have a problem with cooperating with ICE as the governor of Washington State does, for example?
Well, if you're talking about violent criminals, absolutely. I think that's, you know, part of the whole immigration thing is the system is so challenging, and maybe this is the time that we can actually get Congress to, you know, find the compromises, and of course securing the border. I mean, you know, countries come with borders. There's no question about that. But we also have to make sure that we get, you know, that we don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, that we, you know, that we have an ID system that works, but at the same time,
yeah, and the vice president
that a lot of these guys have jobs.
Finally, Jeff Sessions, new attorney general, not a fan of legalized marijuana. Roll the tape on that.
I, as you know, am dubious about marijuana. As states, can